Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be Todd Blanches. And the haves think it's fucking hilarious because they get off on seeing poor people struggle. So this is just fun for them. This is what they call entertainment. So basically, health insurance can wait until tomorrow. I want to talk. So I really was just going to make one TikTok post and move on with my fucking day, but then Oracle was busy oracling. And whenever they start oracling, especially immediately, I know that I should probably stay on target with whatever I was talking about. I want to talk about how the production crew in Butler, PA lowered the American flag to get it inside the shot of that fake assassination attempt against Trump. You know, the false flag operation, Netanyahu, Trump, Putin, all these authoritarians are working together to usher in their flavor of authoritarianism in said region. And the wife of the slain fireman, the widow from Butler, PA, has picked up on all of this bullshit that we've been talking about for years. Now, in a weird way, she seems like she still supports Trump, which I can't explain this tractor beam that 20% of the electorate is caught in with Trumpism. I can't explain that, especially after you know that they created a false flag operation that resulted in the unaliving of your husband, and then they lied about it, and then Secret Service wouldn't come talk to you about it for a year, and then the questions you thought about for that whole year, they didn't even respond to, they didn't even answer, they didn't even have the common decency or respect to look you in the eye and answer your questions directly. That is fascism that you're cozying up to. So I would cease and desist if your loved one got unalived in Iran or Middle East or because of COVID or in some other bullshit situation because healthcare was cut by the millions, for the millions. If you lost a family member as a result of the shambolic Trump regime, I don't think you should publicly support them anymore. I think you should call them the fuck out. I think you should speak your truth. And I don't think you should fucking sugarcoat anything. If what happened in Butler, PA had really happened to Trump, we wouldn't hear the end of it from that fucking narcissistic maniac. He would be talking about how he survived a gunshot wound, how he survived an assassination attempt. He would be yammering about this every goddamn day. We would never hear the end of it. But we don't hear about it because it didn't fucking happen. Now, the widow's a little concerned that we think it didn't happen and that it didn't happen. No, we are not saying that it didn't happen. We know that it was a full-scale production put on by multinational corporations and authoritarian states around the world in concert with our shambolic Trump regime. Yeah, the guy who's guilty of rape and he fucks kids. And he's turning our economy upside down just to fucking slight all of you. It doesn't matter to these fuckfaces who's in power. They're going to be able to afford payments and utilities on all their properties. They're going to be able to go on all their vacations. They're going to always have food on the table. They're going to have always the best education for their kids. They don't have to worry about scraping by. It doesn't matter to them. MAGA, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't. And while we are all having to give up our basic civil rights, they're just getting a few more points on Excel spreadsheets. Lowering that flag to get it inside that fake assassination shot is just as suspect as that crew going in immediately after CK was unalived by IDF, and they paved over the site where the explosive went off. They paved over it immediately. And one thing that we've learned from this recent information or document dump by the shambolic Trump regime is that Russia certainly was no hoax, and they've had everything to do with our recent elections. No visible damage to his ear from a high velocity round. I got bit by a dog over a decade ago in my calf. I still have scars. And no, Stephen Miller, it's not because I'm deformed and I can't heal. I don't have diabetes. I heal pretty well. It was a puncture wound. Puncture wounds take time to heal. Also, bullet wounds from high velocity rounds would eviscerate a human ear. And even a shard of glass or lead would have ripped that thing in half, and there would be at least a large scar. And as far as the widow's concerned, that's the length that these fascists are willing to go. Even though your husband and you supported Trump, they were willing to unalive him and ruin your life just to push forward their agenda. And in order to push forward agendas, they have to have control of the corporate news media, they have to control the optic, they have to control the narrative, and they fabricate these false flag operations where they come in and they blame, leftists or communists or socialists or immigrants. And in all reality, it's always white, Christian, cishet men who are responsible for all these ridiculous situations, not just the fake assassinations where the shambolic Trump regime and the IDF get online with Putin and all their troll community, and they get people to twist their thoughts and get them to do things they normally wouldn't do. What Putin has taught Trump is that you have to really sell it. Like as in when Putin blew up those buildings in Russia, he blamed insurgents, and then he fixed the problem and he became president and he took control for 20 plus years. Same thing with Trump. They can't just have this fake assassination attempt without anybody actually dying. So they take the kernel of truth of your husband getting killed as a prop, and they use that to create this narrative and create this optic. So the reason the widow of the slain fireman from Butler, PA thinks it's bullshit is because her inner voice, her gut, everything that she's seen from all this has told her that. That's what her inner voice is telling her. Over this whole time that's happened, it took them a year to go talk to her, and then they didn't even answer her questions. And meanwhile, Stephen Miller, Nosferatu Light, is trying to tell us that the people protesting the shambolic Trump regime are all saying that we're all deformed. Meanwhile, we know what Trump's mushroom looks like, and we also know that Schmittler had a deformed micropene. So just more MAGA projection. They're projecting all their insecurities onto us. I think MAGA is fine with being LGBTQ. They just don't want you to talk about it. They want it to be closeted. I think they're okay with you having alternative lifestyles. They just want you keeping it in the closet. They're fine with all the things that they rail against. They just think that they need to protect a fabric of society that keeps that in the closet. And low-key, that's what I noticed when I came down to the South, is that nobody was honest with themselves. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I had no idea that it would turn into this fucking mess. And I had no idea that people in non-South states had a fucking terrible problem with this too. Has Stephen Miller looked in the mirror or seen any of these Groyper ICE agents operating? I've never seen such clown-type shit in my life. Watching ICE operators fall on the ice trying to nab immigrants is fucking hilarious. It's so shocking that you patriots that were pro-2A, that were always like, we're going to fight a tyrannical government. As soon as a tyrannical government started bossing you around and unaliving us in the streets, you just fucking cowered to them. Now you're like, you got to obey orders. That's so fucking weird, man.